Hello everybody, my name is Christian, and today we are going to be talking about every 4-star sub-DPS in Star Rail. A while back, I made a video talking about all the 4-star main DPSs in the game, and that was honestly a lot of fun for me. It was super nice getting to learn about all of the more unique kits in the game that really don't get the love that many of our 5-stars do. Specifically, learning about characters like Misha and learning about a character like Su, that was really interesting, and they have very unique designs with a lot of intrigue to them, but they just never really get talked about or covered in any way. So after I did that video, I realized that I had a lot of fun with it. It did pretty well, so I want to extend it and start talking about some of the other 4-stars in the game. Today is going to be covering the sub-DPS, like I said, and then, at some point in the future, we will be finally covering all of the supports, since those are probably the most popular of all the 4-stars. With that said, I hope you guys enjoy. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, all that good stuff. Become a member down below. Let's get into it. Alright, so the very first character we are going to talk about is none other than probably my favorite 4-star in the game to actually use, which is March 7th Hunt. Now, for those of you who have been around for a while, you will know that I've already made an entire video dedicated to March 7th Hunt. I absolutely love her. I think she is one of the coolest designs in the game. She is really fun for me personally to use, and she recently got a resurgence as a main DPS break character. Don't know how that one happened, but hey, it happened, and I am cheering her on. So March 7th Hunt is primarily a follow-up sub-DPS. She will constantly just tack on an extra hit whenever your main DPS attacks, and that is really helpful for a character like Xisuu specifically. The extra attacks mean more Flying Aureus stacks, which means more Xisuu ultimates, which means just more damage overall. That is not the unique aspect of March 7th Hunt, however. The unique aspect of March 7th Hunt is her skill. I've talked about this at length. I think this is one of the coolest skills in the entire game, and I was mad for so long that they never did anything like this again. We got something almost kinda not really similar in Cyrene's ultimate, but it's still not quite the same thing. What March 7th Hunt's skill does is, you designate a single ally as Xisuu, and you increase Xisuu's speed by 10%. Depending on the path of your Xisuu, you will actually get a different effect on your March 7th Hunt. This can be dealing additional damage, or increasing toughness reduction. That is honestly so cool. It is a very small feature, and in the grand scheme of things, it doesn't add on that much. Like, increased toughness reduction, or just a little extra damage. It's not the best by any means, but the fact that it exists, and you can mold March to the situation that you're in, that is unbelievable. Not to mention, a speed boost is always nice. Like, let's not discard that. Speed is essential in this game, so having extra of it, always a good thing. It is because of this skill that she serves as a great sub-DPS for somebody like Xisuu, like I said, or she can serve as a break character, because she can get that free 100% toughness reduction if she copies like a Harmony, Nihility, Preservation, or Abundance teammate, which most of the Super Break supports are Harmony and Nihility. They all are, actually. This goes really well with the fact that in her major traces, you have a trace that can actually reduce the toughness of enemies whose weakness type is the same as Xisuu's. This is really nice for if you're running with the Dahlia, because Dahlia on her ult will implant fire weakness onto a target. You copy the Dahlia, who is a fire element character, March can then immediately start breaking fire elemented enemies. That's really freaking good. Like, it's pretty easy to see how that's extremely helpful. This is a 1-2 combo that works perfectly, and now you don't have to worry about not being able to break at all, because you always are going to get that fire weakness for absolutely free from Dahlia. This specific skill design is just so nice. And while it's a very small part of what March 7th Hunt does, I've yet to even mention her main damaging mechanic, which is her enhanced basic attack. I just personally love the design behind it a lot, and I think it is absolutely amazing. And I stand on my point, please, 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 please give this to another character in the future. I think it would be so nice to see on other existing characters, and it has just yet to happen. Okay, now let's go back to March as a whole. Her enhanced basic attack is the bread and butter of her damage, her breakability, everything. This enhanced basic attack is acquired through getting charges. Once you have 7 charges, you will immediately action advance 100% and use her enhanced basic attack. This is a very powerful attack that can actually be enhanced even further. When you use your ultimate, this will of course deal damage to a single target, but it'll also increase the hits per action of March's enhanced basic attack by 2 hits. At the same time, you always have a chance of doing an extra hit when you do your enhanced basic attack. This fixed chance is at 60%. Using your ultimate will now raise this fixed chance to 80%, meaning you are very, very likely to get that bonus hit. All in all, this creates a pretty interesting loop for March 7th Hunt. Basically, you're going to be constantly follow-up attacking, you're going to have your Shifu constantly be attacking to gain charge, all that good stuff, and then you are going to ult before your enhanced basic attack comes out. That way, you get up to, I believe it is 6 hits? I was going to say it's either 6 or 7 hits, and then I realized I hate the internet. Anyway, so you get a more powerful enhanced basic attack because of your ultimate, and now your goal is to stock up your ultimate again before your next enhanced basic comes out. This is actually not that hard, considering her ultimate is only at 110 energy, one of the lower in the game. This enhanced basic attack also gives you 30 energy back. Her basic attack gives you 20, and she will in fact gain energy when she does a follow-up attack. This is all comboed with the fact that within her Eidolons, this is where her follow-up attack is contained, a speed boost for her is contained, and at the start of her turn, she will regenerate 5 energy thanks to her E4. This is just an absolutely beautiful kit. It all comes together so perfectly to create a SP efficient, fast energy gaining, genuinely powerful sub-DPS character, or main DPS character in the case of Break. March 7th Hunt is always going to be one of my favorite designs in this entire game. Everything they've given her feels impactful, it feels like it works with other characters or really benefits herself, and it is something that many other characters in this game I feel like have not had a kit where it is as coherent or it feels as good when you look at the whole picture. There is not an aspect of March 7th Hunt that really feels weak or wasted in any way, shape, or form. And that is unbelievably rare nowadays. I just love March 7th Hunt so much. This is, again, just one of my favorite 4-stars in the game. I always hope that when I do these videos, somebody else out there will gain a new appreciation for March 7th Hunt. She is a great character. She can work in your follow-up teams. She can work in your break teams. Just give her a try. I promise, give her a try and you will have fun. Back to the 4-star page here. The next character we're going to talk about, I would like to skip away from doing the other follow-up DPS. Instead, we are going to head over to Mini Hera. Mini Hera is a character who came from version 1.0 of Star Rail, one of the oldest characters in the entire game. And her moveset really reflects that. Oh my god. So let's examine just some of these multipliers real quick. I didn't do this as much during the last video because I wanted to appreciate the kits overall, but god damn, this is rough. Her ultimate is 110 energy cost and it does 200% of her attack to all enemies. Her skill does 100% of her attack to all enemies, and if the enemy's HP percent is 50 or higher, it does 20% additional damage. She has a follow-up attack that triggers only when enemies' HP falls to below 50%, and this will do 40% to all enemies on the field. Then we come to her major traces. One of the most useless in the game, which is Puppet. The chance to resist crowd control debuffs increases by 35%. This was a very popular trace in the early parts of Star Rail, and it is, in, hindsight, it is one of the most useless in the entire game now. It offers absolutely nothing to the kit. It offers no unique aspect. This is a copy and pasted trace that was used on multiple characters, and that's really sad to see. Her other two traces are okay comparatively. She can get an extra damage percent boost on skill, and she can do extra damage to frozen enemies with her ultimate. That is about it. Yep. So if I've been talking so negatively about Mini Hera, where exactly is the positive aspect coming from? Well, it is because the Hera exists. The Hera is this powerful erudition character who came out in version 3.0, and even though Rappa had just come out beforehand, it felt like she was the real resurgence of erudition. She was what brought it back into the limelight. The Hera is a character who specifically requires another erudition on her team to get the most value out of her. Now, there was quite a few options in the game at this point for a character like that. We had Serval, you had Argenti, but then you had Mini Hera. Mini Hera is absolutely incredible as a character for the Hera. Kind of makes sense with, Hera really likes herself, so this adds up a lot. The reason for this is that the Hera will constantly regenerate energy when other allies regenerate energy, or whenever they use ultimates, all that good stuff. Pretty interesting how the whole thing works. I'll put a little explanation of it on screen, but overall, the more your teammates are doing, the more Hera is benefiting. Or the Hera, sorry. So now we have Mini Hera, a character with a low energy cost ultimate, which means it can be used a lot, a character with a follow-up attack, which will constantly regenerate energy, do damage, and also charge her own ultimate, and is a completely free character to get multiple Eidolons for in Star Rail. Meaning, you got your sub-DPS for the Hera for absolutely free. Pretty good when you think about it, huh? This character, while by no means incredible, she is efficient, easy to build, easy to use, and pairs well with this incredible character in the Hera, and can save the pulls for a lot of players, or it means you can invest into a different teammate for the Hera, or you can invest into Eidolons. That on its own is such a massive, massive benefit for so many players. There is technically better options, or there are options that can be more beneficial based on the scenario that you're in. Like Argenti, Argenti has a lot of merit as a Hera slave as well. And then of course there's Anexa, who is designed to be the Hera energy slave, and he just broke through the shackles. I don't know what to tell you. All in all, this character, while not, I think, amazingly designed by any means, has found an efficient, nice little niche in this game when it really felt like one couldn't exist for her. And that is just so much credit going to the developers finding a way to innovate with their kit designs and allowing these older characters to shine even when they are not the best. Now, that was before we had Nova Flare, so hey, if you guys just want to buff some of these characters, that's all I'm saying. The next character we are going to talk about in our little sub-DPS journey here is actually the next of the energy slaves, which is Serval. Now, Serval is another character who really is not the best nowadays. I have complained about Serval endlessly because a lot of her kit feels all over the place, to say the least. When we dive into her a little bit, her ultimate is actually less damaging than Hera's, but it will increase the duration of shock on enemies. Shock is surprisingly Serval's main mechanic despite being an Erudition character. Following up on that, Erudition characters usually specialize in hitting all enemies on the field. The only way that Serval can do that is with her ultimate actually. Her skill is a blast ability, meaning it only hits 3 targets. I still to this day do not understand what the design philosophy behind that was. I always am of the opinion that Erudition should focus on hitting every single enemy, and it was pretty clear that the developers did not agree with me during that early part of the game. Moving on from that, instead of giving her that ability, they instead gave her consistent shocks, which is weird. When Serval uses her skill, she has an 80% base chance for enemies to become shocked. When they are shocked, enemies will take lightning damage equal to over 100% of Serval's attack. Then we can look at her talent. After Serval attacks, you deal additional lightning damage to all shocked enemies. This is all making a lot of sense when you then think about the ultimate, which will extend the duration of shock. Even her major traces. Skill has a 20% increased base chance to shock enemies. You're now at a 100% base chance to land your shock. Then her Eidolons. E2 Encore. Every time Serval's talent is triggered to deal additional damage, she regenerates 4 energy, which means yet another ult. And then it never stops. E4, make some noise. Ultimate has a 100% base chance to apply shock to any enemies not currently shocked. And then E6, Serval deals 30% more damage to shocked enemies. I will say, this is also one of the most interesting case of early game traces. I say that because crit rate was very rare in the early stages of Star Rail, and yet Serval has 18% crit rate available in her kit through minor traces. Comboed with this, she has 18% effect hit rate. 18% effect hit rate is going to increase the base chance of landing that shock even higher. And with that comboed with the 100% base chance, I'm pretty sure that means you need no additional effect hit rate on Serval. So now you can just focus entirely into your crit stats and your overall damage output. This character is absolutely wild. A lot of what Serval does doesn't feel that strong, but when you look at her kit and how it all combos together, a lot of it makes a lot of sense, which is not really what we've seen from many early game kits. Just think about Mini Hera a few minutes ago. A lot of her kit wasn't really meant to synergize super well with the other aspects. It was just a lot of damage and some extra damage boost. And even then, there was also that fucking trace of just resisting crowd control debuffs, which is so useless! So now you compare it to Serval. She has a trace that actively helps her main mechanic. She has a trace that increases energy, so that way she can get her ultimate even faster and start her process. Last but not least, when she defeats an enemy, she will actually gain more attack percent to make her damage stronger. This all goes hand in hand with Eidolons that make sense too, that further her personal damage and her ability, and more importantly, also help her with the new purpose she has found so many versions later as an energy character for the Hera. Triggering Serval's talent will get you 4 energy. She will also get energy from her skill, from her basic attack, and her ultimate is only 100 energy, and it shocks enemies, meaning you get even more energy back thanks to that Eidolon. It is a very, very weird loop that ultimately works extremely well, getting Serval constant ultimates when played with the Hera in her optimal form. This is all super, super unique, and it's hard to find characters with this much passive energy and this much synergy in the kit. The biggest problem is just that the kit isn't that strong. That is unfortunately the biggest issue. It all comes together super well. It rewards landing the main mechanic, and you get that reward pretty heavily in the form of a lot of extra damage and extra energy. The multipliers are just weak, and shock is also just not the best, because having a lightning DOT on a character who is more than likely going to be a crit rate, crit damage DPS, it just doesn't really work together that well. It's very, very weird. It's very, very interesting. And overall, even despite Serval not being the absolute strongest by any means, I really like what this kit has to offer. Like I said, it's just something that I feel like many other characters don't have, and it's honestly really, really cool to see that they were doing something like this so early into the game's lifespan. Because again, for the love of God, go compare this to like the Arlen kit, or even to the Mini Erta kit. I don't think it's as good. I don't think those ones are as good as this when we put it on paper. I am a pretty big Serval fan, and I'm not gonna lie, it's just fun to talk about her, especially since she has a history of just appearing randomly. I remember back when Super Break first came out, the enemy of the past, present, and future, people were struggling on it a lot because of the shared HP mechanic. Do you want to know who was the low-cost hero of that situation? It was Serval, built as a Super Break DPS, with Harmony MC and Ron May. He worked incredibly well for that fight because they were lightning weak. Just something that I feel like many players were not expecting at all, for Serval to come in and be a hero again. I really like Serval. It's always nice to talk about her, and hey, you never know when she might turn out to be pretty handy for you. That's all I can say. Alright, we've got a few characters left here, and I know you're saying a few, probably wondering who the hell else I could be talking about other than Moz, and this video concept isn't perfect. It kind of leaves some characters out, so we're gonna put a few extra in here. You guys get a bonus round. Let's move on, though, to the other follow-up sub-DPS, Moz. Or Moza. I don't fucking care anymore. This character is yet another example of 4 stars really improving over time, and specifically follow-up 4 stars being really, really good. Moz is actually seen as the best sub-DPS option for many, many Fei Xiao teams because of the unique nature of his kit, the fact that he has such a high attack frequency, which is very, very hard to match by most other characters, and really, he just has a lot of interesting aspects to his kit that make him super, super easy to slot into these follow-up teams. He works super well for Fei Xiao and Ratio, almost in completely different ways too. So let's examine this. The main point I want to focus on real quick is Moz's skill, Fleet-Winged Raid. He will target a single enemy and mark them as prey, dealing damage to them immediately. When Moz uses this, he will enter the departed state. When in the departed state, Moz will just straight up disappear off the goddamn field. He cannot be selected, he cannot be hit, he just does not exist. You have 3 characters on your field now. This then goes hand in hand with his talent. When allies attack prey, Moz will instantly deal lightning damage and consume a point of charge. The amount of charges he has are set at 9 from when he used his skill. For every 3 points of charge consumed, Moz will properly launch a follow-up attack, dealing lightning damage equal to 160% of his attack. This is all in all pretty powerful, and it really rewards you for being able to hit enemies a lot with your team. When this charge inevitably reaches 0, it will get rid of the prey state, and Moz will re-enter the field. And now, this is when we get into how ridiculous Moz really is. When he dispels his departed state, he will action advance himself by 20%. At the same time, he will action advance himself by 30% at the start of every wave. Then, whenever he uses that follow-up attack from his talent, he will recover a skill point for the team, making him SP neutral. That is already very, very nice, because hunt teams are often SP black holes. The main DPS characters always use a bunch of skill points and need skill points constantly available. This is part of why March 7th Hunt and Moz are so good for the hunt DPSs, because they are not going to absolutely steal and suck up all the skill points that your main DPS need. Then if you can get a SP positive support, your main DPS is never going to be in danger of running out, which is unbelievably nice. There are a few aspects of Moz's kit that I have missed, like his ultimate is pretty powerful, and it'll actually launch his talent's follow-up attack against the enemy that he selects, which, hey, that means that you can get a skill point that way instead of just through prey. The skill point regen is capped at you can only do that once per turn, so it's not absolutely broken, but still pretty helpful. Similarly, when dealing damage by using ultimate, it is considered as having launched a follow-up attack. The follow-up attack damage taken by prey increases by 25%. Once again, unbelievably helpful for your main DPSs like Ratio and Fei Xiao. They are going to be dealing most of their damage through their follow-up attacks, so hey, this is only a benefit for you and your team. That was all from his base kit, and then just looking at his Eidolons and how unbelievably advantageous they are for him. You have something like increase the damage multiplier of Talon's follow-up attack. When all allies deal damage to the enemy target marked as prey, increase crit damage by 40% on his E2. E1 regenerates energy at the start of battle, and it'll regenerate 2 energy every time his Talon is triggered. It is just, overall, a great set of Eidolons. And honestly, when looking at some of the older 4-stars, man, these are amazing! What makes Moz so unbelievably unique, and what makes him such a absolute pinnacle of game design, is the fact that he is an SP regeneration demon, kinda. He offers a lot of damage and buffs, and last but not least, his personal action advance can be unbelievably abused. So, he exits the departed state and gets a 20% action advance. For those of you who do not know, there is a set in the game that will actually action advance you over 20% whenever you ultimate. This can actually stack with the departed state. Similarly, like we mentioned a few minutes ago, Moz can get a lot of energy. Every time his talent is triggered, he will get 10 energy. And then every instance of damage, every individual instance, will also regenerate him 2 energy. Last but not least, his skill gives him 30 energy. When you combine all of this, Moz is getting a lot of energy. He is going to be regenerating the skill points, doing damage, and he is going to be providing so many additional hits for his main DPS. All of this combined leads you to one of the strongest and best sub-DPS characters that Star Rail could design for a hunt unit. Obviously, Ashvale's coming out, so hey, he might end up being even better than what Moz is, but right now, this kit design is unbelievably solid and offers so much, to the point that you really can't ask for more than this, unless you just want him to do even more damage, which, hey, that's fair, but in terms of just raw utility, this kit is absolutely amazing and can be abused to high hell if you know what you're doing. I am not the biggest fan of Moz, I've just never really found a chance to use him, but I think this kit is absolutely incredible. I think he is a character that you should try and use if you have the chance, and yeah, hunt sub-DPSs are actually the GOAT, I swear. And it's insane that a path that receives such little love in Hunt can get such consistently impressive and amazing character designs. It is so cool. Alright, so now we come to the last little section of this video, which I wasn't planning to initially include, but there's not really anywhere else to talk about these characters, so Luca, Gwynaifen, and Sampo. These three characters are all DOT characters who are basically made to participate with Kafka, Hysilens, and that is going to be their main role. They don't really fit in anywhere else. Luca and Sampo especially are more DOT oriented. Gwynaifen is more of a debuffer, honestly, so she can be used in other places. She offers vulnerability, she can do DOT damage to contribute a little extra, but overall, these three characters just don't have as much of a place in today's current game. Luca and Sampo are both technically fine DOT options, it's just, why would you use them over Black Swan? And even then, if you don't have Black Swan, but you have Hysilens and Kafka, you can run them with Cyrene. You can run them with Robin, with Ron May, with Cypher if you really want to. There are a lot of other options over these two specifically, and over Gwynaifen as well. None of them really offer a lot in the grand scheme of things. Now, I will say, I do think Sampo and Luca are also just not designed the best, whereas Gwynaifen, I think Gwynaifen has a more interesting design. She is able to detonate fire DOTs. She is able to stack vulnerability, like I mentioned earlier, which is super unique. Or sorry, people always yell at me for this. It's not vulnerability, it is increased damage. I apologize, people always get on me for that. There you go. And overall, she's not awful from a game design perspective. She has an action advance, she has a lot of ways to inflict burn, she can reduce enemy effect res, she can regenerate energy from her burn status. It's honestly not a bad kit at all. It's just very, very, very weak. And that is very sad to see, because I absolutely love Gwynaifen. She is one of my favorite characters by far. But early DOT characters, I'm not gonna lie, they really don't have a lot of cohesiveness in their kits. They really are not the best overall. Black Swan's existence just absolutely wipes them off the map. And once you have Hysilens, who is the core of DOT right now with Kafka, that's really all you need, and at that point you can just slot in other characters to get that additional damage output that you want. There is a large variety of powerful buffers in this game who can benefit those characters. It's sad to end off the video like this, but 4-star supports for DOT specifically, they're kinda sub-DPSs, so it makes sense to have them here. Their kits really are just not the best, in my opinion. Again, I personally think the best of them is Gwynaifen. I do actually like a lot of what she does. These 4 stars are just old. And that brings us to the ending point of the video. Please give us more 4 stars. I know this is always such a large argument, and I think I talked about this in the last video, and I'm gonna talk about it again. Everybody is somebody's favorite character, or one of their favorite characters. If a character is not important enough, relevant enough, strong enough to be a 5-star, you can make them a 4-star, and somebody will be appreciative of it. We have Xisuu, one of the most popular characters for players. She has such a unique moveset, and because of the sparkle buffs, she is a lot better now, which is awesome to see. We have Moz and March 7th Hunt, 2 very unique characters who are very powerful and very great at what they do. We have Tingyun and Pela, characters who have stood the test of time and still find usefulness in some scenarios. All of these characters, they have unique aspects to them. They are loved by a good amount of the player base. And at the end of the day, I know you're making an entire extra kit for a character that won't really sell like a 5-star will, but that's a chance to experiment. Throw in something new, see how players react, have fun with it. I speak for everyone when I say getting more characters is never a bad thing. It's really fun to see what new concepts come out of these characters. I know I enjoy it, and I imagine that plenty of you do as well. I hope that 4 stars will return sometime soon. I am very much praying for it, but we'll have to wait and see. With that said, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Definitely a bit of a long one. I'm gonna have to cut a lot out. We'll see how it ends up, but yeah. I got plenty more good videos coming out soon, so I will see you guys then. Bye-bye!